Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and hello everyone. Today I'm gonna explain to you guys about teaching, asking and offering help with using literature such as poem that I choose. And the poem this I pick it is about Beowulf, the old literature from England. And wow, maybe the reason why I pick this poem because I like the story. It's about a good defeats the evil, very fitting for audience like teenager, because the method I use for junior high school 8th grade. First of all, I'm gonna explain a little bit about this poem, and also I'm gonna telling about the summary from this literature. So I hope you guys listening carefully what I'm saying. Okay, the first of all is what is Beowulf? So the Beowulf, it is Old English poem consisting of 3,182 alliterative lines, and it is one of the most important of Old English literature. There is no title in the original script, but it's already known by the name of the story protagonist Beowulf. In 1731, the manuscript was damaged by a fire that made disappear through the Ashburnham residence in London, which has a collection of medieval manuscripts compiled by Sir Robert Bruce Cotton. So the next is plot. In Beowulf there is a two plot, when Beowulf fighting with Grendel and his mother, and the last when he fighting with dragon. Now I'm gonna telling you guys the summary from this literature. And first I want to say, using this literature I'm just only using the translation and summary from the original poem, because the original using a language Old English, and not everyone, especially me, understand that language. And why I pick the summary, because it's too long, and I don't want the head of my students explode because reading this poem, and that's why I'm just using the summary from the original. And the summary from this poem you can find the internet, there is a lot in there. But if you guys don't want to use poem like me, it's okay, you can find another poem, maybe some my recommendation poem that I like it is The Owl and the Pussycat by Edward Lear, The Road Not to Take by Robert Frost, and Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe. Okay, we continue to the summary from Beowulf poem, and I'm gonna telling you about the summary from plot 1, Beowulf versus Grendel and his mother. It opens in Denmark, where King Hrothgar has a splendid mead, all known as a hero, a place of celebration and much merriment. However, the joyous noise angers Grendel, an evil monster living in nearby swamp. For 12 years, the creature terrorizes the hero with nightly visits in which he carries off Hrothgar warriors and devours them. After learning of the Danes' trouble, young Beowulf, a prince of kids in what is now southern Sweden, arrives with a small band of retainers and offers to rid Herod of its monster. Hrothgar is astonished at the little-known hero daring but welcome him. After an evening of feasting, much courtesy, and some discourtesy at one point, one of Hrothgar's men insults Beowulf. The king retires, leaving Beowulf in charge. During the night, Grendel comes from the moors, rips open the heavy doors, and devours one of the sleeping kids. He then grapples with Beowulf, who refuses to use weapon. Beowulf grips one of Grendel's hands with such force that the monster finally wrenches himself free only when his arm is torn off at the shoulder. Mortally wounded, Grendel returns to his swamp and dies. Beowulf then display the monster arm in Herod for all to see. The next day is one of the rejoicing in Herod, and feast is thrown in a Beowulf's honor. However, as the warriors sleep that night, Grendel Mother and another swamp monster comes to avenge her son's death, and she kills one of the Hrothgar-men. In the morning, Beowulf dives into her mare or lake to search for her, and she attacks him. They struggle in her dry cave at the mare bottoms, and Beowulf finally kills her with a sword. In the cave, Beowulf discovers Grendel's corpse, whose head he cuts off and takes back to Herod. The dance rejoices once more. Hrothgar makes a farewell speech about the character of true hero, and Beowulf, enriched with honor and princely gifts, return home to King Hygelac of the Geats. Before I teach this material, I have already prepared the answer and learned the question or assignment that I made for this material and for students. Like you can see, there is some analysis each character from this literature, such as Beowulf, Grendel, Grendel Mother, and the dragon. This strategy is very good, can make easy the learning process in class. If you can choose what kind of want to be as a teacher, being brilliant teacher or regular teacher, of course you're gonna say you want to be a brilliant teacher. Being brilliant teacher, you must prepare and know deeply everything material you want to teach for students. If you teach something, it's better you must know what you just teach to other people. Like this, before I teach this material, I learning not just the inside of the poem that I pick or Beowulf, but I must learn and know about the poem itself. What is the definition, the structure, understand the structure too, and also making the connection structure poem with Beowulf literature. Next, a poem. What is a poem? A poem is a piece of writing in which the words are chosen for their beauty and sound, and are carefully arranged, often in short lines which rhyme. And some experts like Aristotle, a philosopher, the existing fragments of Aristotle's poet is described three genres of poetry are the epic, the comic, the tragic, and the developed rules to distinguish the highest quality poetry is each genre, based on the underlying purpose of the genre. Carl N. Duffy, a poet and professor of poetry from Manchester Metropolitan University. A poem is the attire of feeling, the literary from where words seems tailor-made from the memory or desire. Lawrence Burlington, San Francisco Chronicle. Poetry is a sofa full of blind singers who have put aside their cares. Poetry is the sound of summer in the rain, of people laughing behind glass shutters down a narrow street. What is social function from poem? First, to give pleasure. Second, to entertain. Third, to give value of life. And fourth, as a way to express feelings and emotion. Moving from poetry to poet, Eliot states that a poet's social function is to utilize his own language in expressing his people, feelings and emotion, because his direct duty is to his language. First, to preserve, and second, to extend and improve. And indirect duty then is to his people. A poet is a man of extraordinary intellect and observation, having a command over human nature that allows him to pacify his people's emotion in poetry. This expression of feelings enriches the language and keeps it alive forever. It is not only the duty of poet to preserve language, but of every responsible citizen of a particular society. We cannot stop writing poetry because our sensibility is constantly changing as the world about us changes. This continuous change in society requires a development in language that is achieved through literature in its purest form. But most people do not realize, say Eliot, that unless they go on producing great authors, and especially great poets, their language will deteriorate, their culture will deteriorate, and perhaps become absorbed in stronger one. Another important social function of poetry, according to Eliot, is that it ought to have a universal appeal. In other words, poetry should not be confined to a particular time or age. It matters little whether a poet had a large audience in his own time. What matters is that there should always be at least a small audience for him in every generation. Universality in poetry produces a divine influence on the future poets that makes them stay connected with the past and hence keep to live forever. As Eliot says, it is moreover through the living author that the dead remain alive. Okay, the next is structure of poem. First, rhyme. What is rhyme in poetry? Think of a song you like. What is it about that song that makes you tap your feet or want to dance? It is the rhyme of the song. In a similar way, all poems that are not written in the free verse have rhyme, or a beat as well. We also call that beat meter. Each specific syllable in a line of poetry is called a foot. This is also referred to as a unit of meter. A poem is the attire of feeling, the literary form where words seem tailor-made from memory of desire. And the second is sound. Some poets use sound device as a strategy to create an emotional response by the listener. Sound devices are special tools the poet can use to create certain effects in the poem to convey and reinforce meaning through the sound. The four most common sound devices are repetition, rhyme, alliteration, and assonance. What is repetition? Is the repeating of any words, phrase, sentence, or lines with a poem. Second, rhyme is the matching vowel sound at the end of the word lines. Example, me, see. Third, alliteration is the repetition of the consonant sound at the beginning of words. Example, 5 feathered peasants. Fourth, assonance is repetition of vowel sounds within words. Example, long, low moan. Subject matter for any form of poetry writing is limitless. Subject matter is the topic that is being written about that serves as the foundation for the text. Poetry writing helps students develop language, vocabulary, and word choice skills. Each word in a poem is packed with a meaning to show instead of tell. So, good poets carefully choose each word for the effect its meaning and sound will have on the listener. They choose words that will bring about sensory image in the imagination and emotional responses in the heart. Personally, I think couplets are a fun way to begin teaching students about the basic of rhyme and rhyme. Using any subject matter of interest, a couple refers to two successive lines of poetry that rhymes and have the same matter. A couplet can consist of only 2 lines, or it can have multiple rhyme stanzas consisting of 2 lines each. Rhyme. Rhyme is a literary device featured particularly in poetry, in which identical or similar in concluding syllables and different words are repeated. Rhyme most often occurs at the ends of poetic lines. In addition, rhyme is principally a function of sound rather than spelling. For example, words rhyme that end with the same vowel sound but have different spelling. They, pray, wake, buckwheat. This is true for words with the same consonant ending as well. Fine, rain, lane. Rhyme is therefore predominantly independent of the way words look or spelled. Writers use rhyme as a way to create sound patterns in order to emphasize certain words and their relationship with others in artistic manner. An example of emphasis of rhyme as a function of the sound or pronunciation of word is the poem Going Extremes by Richard Armour. Shake and shake the ketchup bottle, known as come and then a lot. Rhyme in this case provide an overall structure for Armour poem by rhyming bottle with lot. The both achieve an effect that is satisfying and fulfilling for the reader both in the poem form and content. There are many types of rhyme, particularly in poetry. Here are some common examples of rhyme form. Perfect rhyme. This rhyme form features two words that share the exact assonance and number of syllables, and is also known as a true rhyme. Skylight and twilight. Slant rhyme. This rhyme form the feature word with similar but not exact assonance and or number of syllables. This is also known as half rhyme or imperfect rhyme. Grief and belief. And the third, I rhyme. This rhyme form features two words that appear similar when read but do not actually rhyme when spoken or pronounced. Mood and hood, moth and dove. Masculine rhyme. This rhyme form takes place between the final syllables of two lines, compare and repair. Feminine rhyme. This rhyme form the feature multi-syllables in which stressed and unstressed syllables rhyme with each other, respectively lazy and crazy. And the last, end rhymes. They are rhymes that occur between the final word of two consecutive lines of poetry or non-consecutive lines following rhyme scheme in stanza. Tiger, tiger burning bright in the forest of the night. And the last of all these, imagery. Imagery is a literary device that refers to the use of figurative language to evoke a sensory experience or create a picture with words for a reader. By utilizing effective descriptive language and figure of speech, writers appeal to a reader's sense of sight, taste, smell, touch, and sound, as well as internal emotion and feelings. Therefore, imagery is not limited to visual representation or mental image, but also includes physical sensation and internal emotion. People frequently use imagery as a means of communicating feelings, thoughts, and ideas through descriptive language. Here are some common examples of imagery in everyday speech. The autumn leaves are blanket on the ground. Her lips taste and sweet as sugar. His word felt like a dagger in my heart, and the last my head is pouring like a drop. Type of poetic imagery. For poetic imagery, there are 7 primary types. These types of imagery often feature figures of speech such as similes and metaphors to make comparisons. Overall, poetic imagery provides sensory details to create a clear and vibrant description. This appeals to a reader's imagination and emotion as well as their sense. Here are the main types of poetic imagery. Visual appeals to sense of sight through description of color, light, size, pattern. Auditory appeals to a sense of hearing or sound by including melodic sounds, silence, harsh noises, and even onomatopoeia. Gustatory appeals to sense of taste through describing whether something is sweet, salty, savory, spicy, or sour. Tactile appeals to sense of touch by describing how something physically feels, such as its temperature, texture, or other sensation. Olfactory appeals to sense of smell by describing something fragrance or odor. Kinesthetic appeals to a reader's sense of motion or movement through describing the sensation of moving or the movement of an object. And the last, organic, appeals to and communicate internal sensation, feelings, and emotions such as fatigue, thirst, fear, love, loneliness, despair. And this time I'm gonna connecting the structure of poem with the literature Beowulf. So the first is from the rhyme from Beowulf poem. Rhyme can be described as the beat and piece of poem. The rhyme beat is created by the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables in a line of verse. When you read Beowulf, unless you know Old English, you'll be reading it in translation, so you may not realize that it's actually poem. Often 3 or even 4 words that begin with the same sound in each line, so it's very hard to analyze rhyme in Old English literature. And the second is rhyme from Beowulf poem. Rhyme is the repetition of syllables, typically at the end of first line. Rhyme words conventionally share a sound following the word less stressed syllable. Example: sea, lee, skies, ice, ring, sing. There is little use of rhyme and no fixed number of beats or syllables. The first is alliterative, meaning that each line is in 2 halves, separated by a caesura and linking by the presence of stressed syllables with similar sounds. And the third sounds from Beowulf poem. Sound device help the reader hear poem, the way a poet structures their stanzas and chooses their words can bring a poem to life. The narrator of Beowulf used several different tones over the course of this song epic poem. In Beowulf, seems to spoken with grave, calm, even stiffy formality. So we are in the important topic in this video. It is what kind of learning method which can use poem Beowulf in class. As I told you before that I choose material from 8th grade junior high school, asking and giving opinion that I got from syllabus Korea. So there is menerapkan struktur teks dan unsur kebahasaan untuk melaksanakan fungsi sosial dari ungkapan meminta perhatian, mengecek pemahaman, menghargai kinerja baik, dan meminta dan mengungkapkan pendapat, serta responnya sesuai dengan konteks penggunaannya. Dan yang 4.1 yang kedua, menyusun teks lisan sederhana untuk mengucapkan dan merespon ungkapan meminta perhatian, mengecek pemahaman, dan menghargai kinerja yang baik, serta meminta dan mengungkapkan pendapat dengan memperhatikan fungsi sosial, struktur teks, dan unsur kebahasaan yang benar dan sesuai konteks. And there is example like, she's kind, isn't he? Yes, she is. Understood? Is it clear? Yes, sir. Give student an assignment. Read a summary of Beowulf poem in English and it has been summarized. Then give them essay question about every character in Beowulf poem. Example: what is your opinion about character Beowulf? What is your opinion about character Grendel? What is your opinion about character Grendel mom? And what is your opinion about the dragon? About social function, asking and giving opinion, there are 2 I pick about that. The first is what the social function of giving and asking opinion. The first, to develop idea from other people's opinion, and the second, asking opinion, is to ask other people's opinion on an issue. Giving opinion is to express an opinion on the matter or. But the next point is, before you give your assignments, don't forget to explain them about asking and giving opinion. The sentence and word always to use when making an opinion, such as giving opinions, like as far as I'm concerned, and in my opinion, from my point of view, the way I see it is, to my mind, well, I reckon, I strongly believe, I honestly think, and also don't forget about asking opinions too, like what do you think? Do you see what I'm getting at? Do you know or see what I mean? Do you agree with me? And about agreeing to, like, I totally agree with you. I couldn't agree more. I'd go along with that. I feel the same. You're absolutely right. No doubt about it. When there is agreeing, there are also disagreeing. Like, I'm afraid I disagree. I don't agree with you. I'd be inclined to disagree. That's not the way I see it. I don't think so. And the 5 is partly agreeing. I see your point, but I kind of agree with you. I agree with you to an extent, however. You make a good point, but. So there's asking and expressing opinion is something we frequently do in every day in English.
The tool I use for this material teaching, it is only markers, whiteboards, papers, a summary of Beowulf. Okay, that's all for me for explanation video learning about I'm teaching, asking and giving opinion using a literature. And that's literature I chose, it is old literature from England, Beowulf. Like I said before, that you guys can choose freely another poem you guys like. Make and develop your learning process in class. And talking about learning process, I have several tips for you guys how to make learning process more fun. So making school fun can give a kids lifelong love of learning. To keep your students engaged and motivated, throw in some fun variety. Here are 10 ways you can make learning and education more fun and interesting for your students. First, break up your lessons. Many lessons, especially when you are introducing a new topic, involve a lecture. But you can expect young kids to stay engaged as they sit still listening to you talk. Breaking up your lesson adds excitement and keep your student interested. Give an introduction, then try an activity. Go back to talking, then pull out another group exercise or get students out of their seats for a round of jumping jacks. Finish class with a discussion. Even 30-second break every 6 minutes or so will do wonders. Try to vary what you do for every lesson and how to teach every day. Learning in new ways and going new things and can help kids' attention to the material. Okay guys, that's all me because the time is almost over. Thank you very much for you guys who listening from beginning until the end. And sorry for the wrong words that I say this video learning. And if you anything don't understand about my video learning, just contact me in WhatsApp. You can find my number in group WhatsApp Literature English. So guys, thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.